There's miles of land in front of us. We're dying with every step we take. We're dying with every breath we make. And all fall in line. Hey everyone, welcome to the 20-Hour Ukulele Challenge. And next I'm going to teach you March to the Sea by 21 Pilots. 21 Pilots has so many great ukulele songs. This is my favorite one because I really like to use it to introduce the G chord and all kinds of weird things that happen with it. So, yeah, if you're up for this one, I look forward to going through the challenge with you. So first of all, I changed the key. I moved it to the key of C. The song is originally in the key of G, but we're not really doing songs outside of the key of C in the 20-Hour Ukulele Challenge because, well, I have like 10 reasons. If you want to read about them, check out my website. I will explain it there, but for now, we're going to do this in C. So don't try to play along with the record and get confused, or it'll just be a frustrating day. So I'm going to play a C chord first. And we've done this a lot before, but for those who haven't, ring finger, 3rd fret, 1st string. Then next is an F chord. I'm going to use the middle finger on the 2nd fret of the 4th string and the index finger on the 1st fret of the 2nd string. Then you're going to lift the index finger, play an A minor chord, and then I'm going to do the James Taylor fingering of G, which looks kind of like this. But anyway, you can kind of make this triangle shape of like 2nd fret of the 1st string, 3rd fret of the 2nd string, and then 2nd fret of the 3rd string. Any way you can make that triangle shape, you can go with. And then you're going to go back to C, and the song starts over. And it just loops that chord progression the whole song. I mean, basically the way this song works is that you play those 4 chords, and you just brush them. Boom, 2, 3, F. Boom, 2, 3, A minor. Boom, 2, 3, 4, G. Something about falling in line, and then it just cycles that again and again. You just brush it, and then other instruments do all the work. So the ukulele part is super duper 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 easy. But if you've never done a G chord before, it might not be so easy because some people, I have one student who likes to call the G chord the triangle of death. So some of you will get this real easily. For those who don't, let's break it down. So part of the reason the G chord's confusing is because, well, it uses 3 fingers, and also there's like 5 different ways to do it. You can do a G chord like this, or like this, or like this, or like this, or probably like this. This is the one way I would never actually do it, but you could do the G chord that way. I've never actually had to do it that way before, but all the other ways I use all the time. And there's different reasons for using different ones. So there's like, part of me wants to make this easy, but you also do have to learn how to make some choices. And so let me just like weigh a couple of factors about which fingering of G you choose, and then I want you to play with them a little bit and see which one sits the best with you, and then try to work with it. And over time, you're eventually going to learn different ways to play the G chord. And that's okay. But at the beginning, it's better to choose 1, maybe 2. That you focus on, because every way of fingering the G chord, it's a posture you have to learn. It's like learning yoga. It's like every time you learn a different fingering, it's like it's a different posture you have to learn, and it takes time. When you just want to play songs, you don't want to spend all this time learning all the different ways you can finger G. So it's better to just learn one and get really good at it. And even if it's not the best one for the context you're in, even if you have to jump awkwardly from another chord, if you get really good at it, the fact is, once you've played long enough, you'll eventually learn how to go from pretty much any place to any place that you know really well. So it's like, if I go from an F to this G, I can do that pretty quick, versus the F to this G, versus F to this G, versus F to this G, versus F to this G. I can get from an F chord to any G fingering that I want to, because I've been playing a long time and I know these chords really well. As a beginner, that's really, really hard to do. It's going to be hard to get from F to any kind of G, probably. So it's better to pick one and get really comfortable with it. So I'm going to go through a couple of the possibilities, and then we're going to actually try to play along with some of the words to this song and see if you can kind of keep it together. Because that's how you'll practice. You'll practice using this one chord, this G chord. You're going to use it in a lot of different songs. You're going to go from a lot of different chords to it and from it to a lot of other different chords, and using the same chord a lot of different ways is how you gain mastery. That's what you want to try to do. It's called recontextualizing it. You want to recontextualize the same chord as many times as you can, because that's how you get really good. So let's weigh a couple things. So my first recommendation is for this ukulele series is to learn the James Taylor fingering, because it works the best in the key of C. So if I'm coming from a C chord, if I took my ring finger, moved it over a string, and I used my middle finger on the second fret of my third string and the index finger on the first fret of my first string, that'd make my G chord. It makes my little triangle shape. And there you go. Poof, there's my G chord. Let me show you this a little bit closer so you can kind of get used to what it looks like. Woo, that's what it looks like. Pretty little G chord. Woohoo. Now, a lot of people don't like this fingering because you have to twist your arm kind of this way a little bit. You kind of have to do this little radial woo in order to make this work. A lot of people don't like to do this. I didn't really like to do it at first, but I got used to it. And now I realize that it goes from a C to a G to an F to an A minor to an F to a G. It goes to the F and the C chord really, really easily. And the other fingerings don't. So in order to go from most of the other fingerings, you have to like twist a whole bunch of things around and be like, oh, it's all gnarly. So I really like this fingering for the key of C because it's very smooth and you can keep the fingers very close to where they need to be. But some people find it really annoying and just don't like to do it. So give it a try. See if you can just get that clean fingering. Then the next option that I recommend is this fingering, where you use open fourth string, second fret with the index finger, and then use the ring finger on the third fret of the second string, and the middle on the second fret of the first string. It's kind of buried in there. So you notice like the middle finger is kind of buried in there. This is on the third fret there. And then you got second fret there. And there's your triangle shape right there. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo. I would give that one a try. This fingering, most people find this to be the easiest fingering. They find it to be the strongest. You still got to turn your arm a little bit, but you turn it another way. It's a slightly easier way to turn your arm. So you give a little radial tilt and you really kind of move these as close to the frets as you can. Most people find this to be physically the easiest fingering of G. But it's also, to get to F from here, you gotta pull this out of there and twist it around the index finger, and the index finger's gotta move over. It's really inconvenient to get to F from this G, and you have to do that a lot in a lot of songs. So it's like, for this series, I don't recommend it as much, but it's a good one to learn anyway. This is the way most people play G. So very useful to learn, not a bad choice. If you feel more comfortable with it, go with it and just make the jump. Another way that you can do it, which actually I also do in this series, the actual other version I teach, is the pinky fingering, which is actually kind of hard, but for certain things, it actually works better. And here's how it goes. Take your ring finger when you're on a C chord, you're going to slide it back a fret to 2. And we sort of did this in the first song. We made the E minor 7, we used the middle finger on the second fret of the third string, and then we used the pinky on the third fret of the second string. You still got to kind of do the radial turn to get all the fingers in there. I notice I'm all on the tips of my fingers. Excuse me. Now, this fingering is probably one of the harder fingerings of G. Not the hardest one I know, but really, really close. Why? Because you're not using one of your best fingers. You're using all your weak fingers. But the reason this one's really useful is because it's a really easy way to get to E7. And this actually happens. Going from G to E7 actually happens quite a bit. So this is such an easy transition that this is a really useful fingering to learn. To go from C to E, to go from C to G to E7 to A minor. That chord progression happens a lot, and this is the easiest way to do it. And if you have to do it really fast, that's the way you do it. I can go. You can make that transition really, really quick because the fingers barely have to move. So this is one I also recommend people learn if they can, but maybe you might also get to work on this in the context of another song. So there are a couple other possibilities, like doing it with a bar chord, but I wouldn't think about the other ones right now. Maybe in another lesson I'll get into that, but for now I'd say play with those. Excuse me. I'm going to put my ukulele down, let you play with those. I want you to pick one. And then we're going to go back and we're going to put it into this song again. Okay, now that we've picked a G chord, we are going to put it into this chord progression. So I'm going to use the James Taylor fingering. I'm going to do this one where I sort of twist this away. That's what I'm going to use. You can use whichever one you want. But then, remember, we're going to go C to an F, lift a finger to A minor, and then to our G chord. And again, you can leave your A minor a little bit early to get there in time if you need to. What you can do, you can kind of lift this finger and start to hover, boom, and make sure you land right on time. It's really important to land on the downbeats. It's often okay to leave a chord early, but you really don't want to arrive on a chord late. It doesn't sound very good. So if we can, and you just count a very slow 4 for each of these. You're basically like 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, start singing your G, get in the shadow. G, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. F, 2, 3, 4. A minor, 2, 3, 4. G, 2, 3, 4. C. So go ahead and practice that with the counting a couple of times. And the really important thing to getting to G in time is making the shadow. It's like when you're on that A minor, whatever your fingers have to do to get ready. See how mine are already kind of waiting over the frets that they're going to go to, and all I got to do is boop, fall into place. It's really, really easy if you are already almost there. Might take you a little while to find the shape, and you might wobble for a while. That's okay. Just take your time, feel what you're doing, wait for it to stabilize. If you have to, take a break, come back later today or tomorrow or whatever. But whatever you got to do to kind of get that G really comfortable. Now, I want you to try to keep this together while I am going to sing some of the words to the song. You're going to play along with me. So here we go. I'm going to do 3 verses of this, and I want you to, if you can, play along with me and see if you can keep up. Tempo of the song is not too fast, but you got to be ready for the G chord on time. So here we go. Ready? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's miles of land in front of us. We're dying with every step we take. We're dying with every breath we make. And all fall in line. A stranger's back is all I see. He's only a few feet in front of me. And I'll look left and right sometimes, but all fall in line. No one looks up anymore, 'cause you might get a raindrop in your eye, and heaven forbid they see you cry as we fall in line. And then on and so forth. So, if you found that useful, try going to the next song of the series, or the first song in the series, but see if you want to do the 20-hour ukulele challenge. It's a good thing to do if you're just starting on the instrument. So, hope you found this useful, and yeah, hope to catch you in another lesson soon. Bye-bye.